Hey, what is the internet fascination with subsonic ammunition?
Ooh, is this where I get to tell the B story?
Sure.
Okay, so as has in certain internet circles, the term "giving them the bees," it came from a specific example of an individual that didn't understand how the MP5SD was designed by the Germans. They wanted a suppressed submachine gun that would fire 115 grain NATO ball coming out of the barrel or coming out, at supersonic speeds in a normal gun. Well, they couldn't have the supersonic crack of the round, so they ported the barrel of the MP5SD to bleed off all of those gases. We would call that inefficient in all other manners of suppressor design, because most suppressors and their baffle technology actually increase the velocity of the round. So the Germans made the MP5SD to take 115 grain ball and then simmer down now, bring it on back to below that supersonic threshold so that it wasn't giving you the crack of the round. Now, if somebody's not a gun dude and they don't know that, and they are they have access to subsonic ammunition, you get into a double entendre, if you will, where somebody takes subsonic 9 and then feeds it into an SD. And the gas bleeding process that turns supersonic into subsonic now turns 9 mil into 380 from a terminal wound ballistic standpoint. So one such individual that didn't understand how an MP5SD worked and said, oh, 9 mil subsonic, that's what you use with guns that have silencers, loaded up for bear with some subsonic. And he got into a lethal force encounter where a bunch of dudes were departing rapidly because, we'll call it the popo, were banging on the front door. Police, we have a warrant. And he's like, I'm outie. And he runs out the back with an AK, and the police are already up on the roof. And so this dude is trucking, gun all day long, confirmed hostile guy, and this dude goes full auto on this MP5SD and like, and he hits this guy. Unfortunately, this dude is wearing some Eastern European gangster pleather jacket, and these subsonic 9 mil rounds that are now uber subsonic through the SD start impacting this dude's body cavity. So he's going through heavy pleather and then into his body, and he starts thrashing and like trying to like wipe him off like he's getting stung by wasps. So he dumps his AK and he's staggering and like, bees, they're all on me, and he's just getting filled in with full auto 9 mil from a suppressed gun from a distance of about, 15, 20 feet. And the SD's just giving him the business. And this guy is he keeps trying to wipe it off. And like, you're not wiping off ammo that's hitting you, dog. Like, you're getting shot right now, like 18, 20 times. You're getting filled in. And eventually the terminal performance of a fusillade of subsonic 9 mil fired through the MP5SD platform resulted in somebody that had a real gun popping him in the grape with a 5.56 and ending the shenanigans. But that's where the term the bees came from, because as this dude was running, he was trying to wipe off the suppressed 9mm hits that were making contact with his body. And when they searched the body, there were actual like rounds caught in the leather jacket that had almost like acted like a body armor for this dude. So note to all SWAT teams, if you have an MP5SD, because you need it to be quiet, quote, quote, hashtag quiet, run whatever you want to through there. As long as it's not plus P plus, the engineering of that weapon in its design is going to bleed off the energy of your cartridge. Now, make sure that your cartridge was not designed to perform at a level of FPS, like, again, we're going back to the M855 analogy. If you get a self-defense load that's designed to expand to however many millimeters of diameter and this much whatever, take into account that you're now using a load that's going to come out of the barrel at a subsonic velocity, and just take that into account. So if that's 124 grain coming out now at whatever, just factor it all in. Understand the engineering of the gun that you're employing, and not just be like, oh, it's an SD, it's got a silencer, that means I must shoot subsonic. Traditional guns with screwed on suppressors, that would be a more logical conclusion to come to. But the MP5 SD is, it's a unicorn in the firearms world, in that these high-speed German engineers made that motherfucker for one purpose, and it was to take military hardball ammo and spit it out at subsonic speeds to create the quietest 9mm submachine gun that's ever been created.
The bees.
I think there was my recollection might be effed up on this, but I know a local SWAT team, got into a shootout with a big fat lady in a closet, and he gave her the whole magazine, and she just stayed standing there, and then they were worried about their ammo. But it was I think it was related to that, where they had an SD and subsonic ammo in the gun. But I think probably the most famous is the Good Guys incident, where at least one of those dudes made entry with an MP5 SD, and he had a breech loader. So not rounds being ineffective, but it wouldn't cycle his gun, which is a suck time to figure that out in the middle of the fight.
Locally, we had a team that was doing that. I was getting ready to do a pre-raid briefing. They were helping us out, and because I'm a gun geek, and they showed up with SDs. I asked them what kind of ammo they were shooting, and it was 147 grain. I asked them if they'd test fired it. No, they hadn't test fired their duty ammo. They've been shooting ball at the range, but the duty ammo was expensive, so they never test fired it. I talked them into believing that was a bad idea. Eventually they tested it, and like Bill was talking about, the SD bled off so much pressure from the rounds that the gun was basically a bolt action rifle at that point. Very quiet bolt action, but you had to fire one round, cycle the gun, fire one round, cycle the gun, because that 147 grain was going too slow to run the gun after those ports bled all the pressure off.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of suppressors on law enforcement guns, particularly on long guns for entry situations. But the use of subsonic ammo basically takes your nice rifle and neuters that thing into a handgun. And I just don't understand or see the logic in using it for law enforcement in CONUS.
Yeah, I don't either. To be honest with you, are you still hearing that? I mean, I see some dudes pop up with that occasion, but I don't recall them being law enforcement dudes, and particularly SWAT guys. I mean, I would, again, you can take the boy out of Graham, but you can't take the Graham out of the boy. Or I'm fairly naive on a lot of stuff, but I would think most of that has been silenced at this point, where guys know what they need to slap in that gun to make it work both effectively terminally and also to make the gun operate.
Every day I get emails from guys and agencies questioning what's going on. Like, we have 55 grain polymer tip duty ammo for our patrol carbines. That stuff penetrates like 6-7 inches. Not a good choice. Or we're still carrying HydroShock, which is more expensive and less available than going to something more modern. I thought this was all solved too, but like we talked about earlier in this episode, I think there's a whole new generation of guys that don't know what happened before them. And as a result, they're getting duped and or confused, or just don't know what they don't know. And we keep seeing it over and over again. Like agencies not wanting the guys should shoot more than twice at someone, like San Francisco tried to recently do. What was the physiological and anatomical science behind that? What was the shooting incident results that would question a guy shooting someone more than a couple times in an incident? That just makes no sense. And so we have all of this media, television, movies, etc. We have all of this social pressures that are not based on the rule of law. It's not based on science, and it's not based on after-action assessments of previous incidents. And I think that's what we need to continue to emphasize and where we need guys to go.
And these dudes all want to be like Mike, and it's like they want to mimic, but they don't understand why. Like, are suppressors a good thing for SWAT? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Okay, so number one, OSHA. Even with active hearing protection, OSHA, having suppressors now, like if you kick in somebody's door to do a warrant and he votes and he has toddlers and mama and all these other people, and he reaches up under the plastic coated couch cushion and pulls out a blaster and he votes, I ain't going back to jail today, and you hot him up. If you have 10-inch carbines, you're introducing multiple weapons at over 130 dB into that environment. And okay, you've got the best marksmanship in the world. You have interjected enough decibels of overpressure into that room that you are probably going to cause permanent hearing loss to his wife, his toddler, the 4-year-old, everybody else in that room. So suppressed weapons, just from an OSHA liability standpoint, from a workers' comp standpoint to the SWAT guy, from the liability standpoint to the what I call in the military non-combatants, that alone justifies it. Now, the other piece of it is differentiation of fire. When people start shooting guns on the scene, if all suppressed guns are the popo, when you hear a non-suppressed report, nobody has to call on the radio and ask what the fuck is going on. If you hear bam, 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 that is someone in that house voting at that exact moment. Whereas a dude squirting out the back of the house, fully armed, running into one of your officers and receiving deadly force in response to his immediate threat to the officers on the perimeter is going to have a different report. So just because you're serving a warrant and you hear gunfire does not mean everyone on that task force has to get on the radio and start playing Lieutenant Gorman in the movie Aliens. Apone, God damn it, what's happening? Like, you don't need to do that if you can differentiate the sound of the bullets of the good guys from the sound of the bullets of the bad guys. The supersonic threshold has nothing to do with either of the examples that I just gave. So, a 300 blackout with a 110 grain Barnes TSX round is going to chew a human being alive and not overpenetrate them and maintain under the noise threshold of OSHA ear safety. So go supersonic all day long as long as you're within the intent of what your law enforcement division's suppressed weapon SOP is. Why the hell, how the hell did you justify them in the first place other than I want to be like Mike? Was your original requirement based in any type of reality? And if so, there are other weapon systems other than a suppressed 9mm weapon to accomplish what you want. Nobody is doing Century Takedown on a warrant. You are not going to shoot Pookie's like cell phone guard guy. Like, this dude's going to let him know if the Bearcat comes down. All right, fuck him. Let's shoot him in the face. Not going to pass mens rea. Let's not even go down that road. That ain't the business y'all are in. Century Takedown is not a viable law enforcement TTP as much as you guys would like it to be. Secondly, dogs. Love me some dogs. If you fill a dog in with a gun that is ultimately quiet, that dog is not going to go quiet into the night. He doesn't like getting filled in. He is going to bark louder than the report of your suppressed gun. So you hop that Roddy up. You cut the fence. The dude's got the double fence with the burglar bars and the dog's running outside. He is buying time to flush his shit, and y'all know it. Fine. Shooting that Roddy with a suppressed gun is just going to make that Roddy yell like a bitch for the last 5 seconds that he's alive. So, Popo, stop doing shit just because you've seen it on TV. It doesn't fit your requirement. It doesn't fit what you're ultimately trying to accomplish with your gear. So stay away from subsonic ammunition. There's no reason, and I'm saying like specifically tuned down, not 147, just because it falls under 1,200 feet per second, Chuck. That's that's a very good point, that you've got a viable, hey, this is what we carry in our pistols, let's just throw it in our subguns. That's a totally different argument. I'm talking about tuned down 9mm ammunition for the purpose of shooting through regular submachine guns that are then canned to keep them under that 1,200 variable. So I need to throw that out there. Not like all of y'all are dumb. Like purpose-built suppressed gun 9mm versus it just happens to be under the FPS of breaking the sound barrier. Over.
Yeah, basically we don't want to shoot subsonic out of our long guns.
Fact.
Boom. And with dogs, CO2 fire extinguishers work real good against dogs.
Can I throw in, we don't want to shoot subsonic out of long guns that are actual rifles. If you're still stuck with a pistol caliber submachine gun, subsonic might be a good idea, but
that's just a big pistol, dude.
Yeah, you don't want to turn your rifle into a pistol.
Exactly. You don't want to be shooting subsonic 300 blackout, subsonic 5.56 out of your long gun in law enforcement. Ain't no purpose for it.
Right. If you have a submachine gun without a suppressor, and you've got a little bit longer barrel, I'm kind of digging the ballistic performance of like your 147 coming out of, however many inches of, let's say, MP5A3. If for whatever reason you're still carrying subguns, which baffles my shit, but if that's your thing, if that's what you're running, an unsuppressed A3 with a really high performance, I mean, dude, if it works that good out of a 5-inch pistol, you throw a little extra velocity at it, you need to be prepared for a little bit extra penetration, but the expansion and everything else is still probably going to be, on par in there. So 147 out of like MP5A3 doesn't like make me want to fucking torture baby kitten. Like that's not like deliberate negligence of the ballistic gods. Yeah, that's just, hey man, that's my doodle. That's my doodle. I'm running my pistol. Let me run this shit in my rifle too, especially like an MP5K. Whatever you run in your pistol, run that shit in an MP5K. If it kills people good in your handgun, it's gonna kill people good in your PDW, if you will.